All right, everybody. Welcome to the Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast, where we bring a unique insight and analysis about your favorite sports, the collegiate and professional levels. I'm your host, Chase Yance. Alongside me is Brady King, my co-host. How you doing, Brady?
Doing good, Chase. Doing good. Excited to talk about some Big Ten football.
Exactly. We've been talking about this
How are
for
you? How are you? I should ask that.
It's all good. I'm doing all right. We've been talking about this
Yeah.
for a minute and everything. And, when we're talking about Big Ten football, we obviously got to bring on this guy is at the bottom of our screen, Matt Ricketts. What's up,
going
Matt?
on, boys? What's going on? I'm excited, ready to get to it.
Me too.
Yes, sir. This is the first. I think this is the first time we had you on in probably about 2 months or whatever. Long overdue. Way
It's been
too
a while.
overdue. It's been a minute. But yes, finally ready to touch on some Big Ten.
We'll get this
football.
regular
Yes,
group
we will get.
as soon as we get them videos pumping out.
Exactly, pumping it up, and everything. So,
Right.
So here's the first question we got. Kind of off script and everything, but I wanted to see for your guys in 2021. I'll start with Brady here first. What was your enjoyment level of watching Big Ten football in 2021? You think about it, in 2020 there weren't many fans at games. You think about like the levels of production from both, from all these conferences and everything. I know Ohio State made it in 2020 national championship, but like just overall, what was your enjoyment level of Big Ten football last year?
Well, personally, I thought it was easily the most exciting conference last year, especially considering the fact you had three teams in one division fighting for that playoff spot, basically with Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State. Sadly, Michigan ended up getting that spot, but I really enjoyed it. Other than the Michigan game, obviously, and I obviously hated that. But watching Big Ten football is always exciting. It was nice to see the fans. It was nice to see the atmospheres back intact. And I thought it was a very interesting conference in 2021. And there were quite a few good games, especially that Penn State-Illinois game that went to like 10 overtimes. I was at a tailgate in Bloomington, Indiana, watching that.
I remember that. I was on my way back from Indiana, and I was just hearing about on the radio the amount of overtimes that were going back and forth in that game. So, there's a lot of great football games and all that, and a lot of great fans, especially like our guy Matt. I remember the Michigan State Ohio State game when he was losing his shit on the screen and everything. So, Matt, enjoyment level, Matt. What how did you enjoy yourself last year watching Ohio State?
I always enjoy it a lot. I mean, that Michigan State game was probably the most exciting game I've ever been to in person, just because, it was – I've been to games where, we're playing Michigan or we're playing a team that's really good, and it ends up being a really close game and it's down to the wire, but you're so stressed throughout the game that it kind of, you have a heart attack during it.
Exactly.
But that game last year, I mean, it was from start to finish, just straight obliteration. So I love that. And in terms of the whole season last year, I mean, it's always fun. It's always Big Ten football is just great, man. It's 12 o'clock, high noon, 3:30. You always got a 3:30 ABC game. You got the 12 kickoff for Big Noon.
Yep.
Crack open a couple beers when it's chilly outside and just watch football, man. I mean, that's what Big Ten football is about.
Exactly.
So,
right.
I mean, I'm really excited for this year too. I think there's, 3 or 4 teams on each side of the conference that can fight for, winning their division. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I don't think. I mean, obviously Ohio State's clearly the favorite for everybody over everybody, but in terms of just being able to compete and not everybody just blow everybody out, especially in the Big Ten West, I think it's kind of wide open right now. So I think we're in for a very exciting season.
Yep. As you can see, I mean, there are some good games on this schedule, especially once we get to conference play in October and November. Even a couple, even one right off the bat. I was just talking to Brady off screen about Purdue and Penn State. We'll touch on some of that in a little bit, but I mean, there are some very good football games in the Big Ten this year, especially like you're talking about big noon kickoff, 3:30 ABC, and sometimes getting that 7:30 on ABC window and all that, like especially when you get, late October, November time, you obviously know that Ohio State, Michigan's coming. Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State's playing, Michigan or Michigan State or Purdue or Wisconsin or something like that, and they're battling it out, for a chance to go to the conference championship. So knowing that grinded out football and big time football is coming up, it's really exciting. It's really exciting overall just to see Saturdays being restored back for college football and the Big Ten. We love our Midwest football. We do.
We do.
Yeah. But we'll hop right into the Big Ten West overall. So Brady, I'll let you kind of take the floor on this. You and Matt can kind of go back and forth about the West. As Matt alluded to, there are a couple teams that are wide open in the taking for it. Iowa took that nod last year and represented the Big Ten West in the conference championship, losing to Michigan, who eventually went on to the college football playoff. But I'll let you have the floor here for this one.
Like Matt said, this is the most wide open division, maybe in all of college football, and Power 5 at least. Because I think there's 4 teams with a legit shot to win this division. I think that Wisconsin obviously has a very legit shot like they do every year. Iowa, of course, being the returning division winner, has a very legit shot. Purdue, I think, clearly has a legit shot. I think if they started like they ended the season last year, I think they maybe even represent them in the Big Ten championship. And then I think Nebraska even has a good shot because last year they went 3-9, but they were more of a 9-3 team than a 3-9 team. Just due to the fact that they lost every game by single digits, and Ohio State beat them by 9, which is their biggest loss of the year, which kind of shows like Nebraska. They were not a bad team last year. I think if they put it all together. Most of it was because Adrian Martinez, their quarterback, did some stupid turnover towards the end of the game, which cost them the game. They don't have him anymore. So I think Nebraska has a legit shot. So I think that's a very interesting division. I'll pass it on over to Matt.
Yeah, for sure. I also would like to throw Minnesota in there too. Their schedule is extremely tough. I will say that. They got Michigan State, Penn State in the crossovers. Then they have Iowa and then Wisconsin, obviously, and Purdue in their division. But they have Tanner Morgan and Muhammad Ibrahim coming back this year. Their offense is going to be experienced and really good. So I wouldn't count Minnesota out necessarily. I like PJ Fleck a lot. I think he's got, their program going in the right direction. But to piggyback off of what you said about Nebraska as well, I mean, Scott Frost is definitely on the hot seat. He's got to finish with a winning record at least this year, maybe even 7-5, 8-4 to even keep his job. And you're right, Nebraska. I mean, I think it was like Michigan State, or whoever they played, Michigan, Ohio State, all within 10 points last year. So I mean, they're there. They just got to put it all together. And Scott Frost is going to be desperate, so he's going to be getting those guys ready to go.
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously. I will say this as well. We didn't mention them. Northwestern seems to have a history of having a really crappy year and then coming back and being really strong again. Having a really crappy year, being really strong again. They had a really, really bad year last year. And Pat Fitzgerald is one of the best coaches in the country, not only in the conference, in the country, I think. For how Northwestern, is able to recruit, it's just not good enough, but he still finds a way to be for what he's given. He has just as much success as anybody in the country at coaching. So I would not count Northwestern out. I really think the only, bottom feeder is going to be Illinois. That's the only team that I would even throw out. But like I said, I really think the Big Ten West is very wide open this year. So it should be exciting to watch some of those games.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of your Minnesota point, this is the same backfield as the 2019 team that beat Auburn in the Outback Bowl, who beat Alabama that year. And
they were undefeated for a while, almost to the very end of the season. I think.
Yeah, they lost to Iowa, I believe, was their first loss.
Right, that's right. They beat Penn State at home.
Mm-hmm. At Minnesota, they beat Penn State. Rashad Bateman had a huge game that day. Tanner Morgan was talked about as one of the best QBs in the Big Ten, and this is going to be his 4th season since then.
Right. That's
so
what
he's
I'm
really
saying.
going to have.
They're very experienced. I mean, if Ibrahim can come back healthy off of that terrible injury, I mean, he was torching us last year, and I know our defense wasn't anything to be bragging about, but I mean, it's still an Ohio State defense. He's out there literally gashing us.
Oh yeah,
he was a hell of a running back. I think he's a hell of a back.
Is.
I think they really have a fighting chance. Like I said, their schedule is tough, very tough for Big Ten, having those crossovers with Penn State and Michigan State. I think Penn State's game is Halloween, October 22nd, so that's going to be the whiteout. It's at Penn State. It's going to be the whiteout
that's right.
that year. Because we're not the whiteout this year. I think we're Big Noon. So
Big Noon stole us. Yeah, Penn State has to be mad about that.
Right.
Penn State is.
So that's their whiteout game this year. So I mean, it's going to be harder than hell to come out of there with a win for Minnesota.
It will be.
Like I said, we'll see. I mean, a lot of times you come out of that division with a 10-2 or 93 record and win that division. I mean,
they beat up on each other.
Yeah, Northwestern came out a few years ago like 8-4. So
I swear, the Big Ten West is full of teams that literally could just beat anybody and lose to anybody in the country.
Yeah, very inconsistent, but very tough. They got a lot of tough. I mean, Kirk Ferentz, Paul Chryst, Pat Fitzgerald. I mean, those are 3. The way their programs are built, it's all based off of toughness. And,
those are 3 of the top 5 coaches in the Big Ten. I think you got those 3 you just mentioned, and then Day and Mel Tucker.
Yeah, and then
I think Franklin and Harbaugh are in much better situations than those guys.
Oh, absolutely.
And can't get it done. So I feel like
if I may add, all right, 2 things. I remember, Brady, you're talking about Nebraska. Matt was talking a bit about Northwestern having the roller coaster ride of a year. Those 2 teams play each other week 0, August 27th over in Dublin, Ireland.
Right.
I know
it's
an early season tilt. We might not be able to see what both teams are really made of as you see both teams what they're really made of in November. But it is a very interesting matchup right off the bat. Nebraska
Definitely.
and Northwestern, before everything starts. And another thing is we haven't really mentioned Wisconsin a whole lot. Wisconsin, like every year, they're around 8-4, 9-3, and talking about what the West Division winner normally is around 8-4, 9-3. I mean, I don't really know a whole bunch about their situation, but their Big Ten conference schedule starts off with Ohio State. At Ohio State, they play on the road at Michigan State. They play a home game against Purdue, but Purdue can go in and beat anybody at anybody's place. If we're talking logistics, Purdue went and beat Iowa last year by a lot. And then later on, November 12th, they play at Iowa, and then the week after they play at Nebraska and a home game against Minnesota. So they have a tough schedule, but you can never really count Wisconsin out of these things. I will say, obviously, Minnesota, Nebraska, Purdue, or whatever, but
they're tough.
But it is going to be a pretty big fight and all that. I just had to throw that in there. You guys keep going if you guys got anything.
I mean, yeah, I think so far I've pretty much hit on all I needed to say about the West Division. Do we have to – oh, wait. Were we supposed to give, our top players? Or?
Well, I mean, that's actually a good time to roll into
Okay.
So who would you say is just one player that you would want to look out for this year? I'm actually going to start this off with Matt. Do you have anybody you want to watch out for in the Big Ten West?
I'm glad I got to go first because I get to pick all the good ones, pick which one I want to take because I was worried Brady was going to take them all. I think
I might have.
I think Ibrahim is the best back. I think he's a more complete back right now than Travion, I would say. Not potential-wise. Travion has potential out of this world. Maybe Travion got to where he on his level this offseason or whatever. We'll have to wait and see. But I think Muhammad Ibrahim from Minnesota, I think he's the best back in the league. I really look for him. Now, Minnesota likes to throw the ball a little bit more than some of the other teams in the conference, like Wisconsin or Michigan, teams that run the ball, pound the ball, pound the ball. So he might not lead the league in rushing yards per se, but I think he's going to have the biggest impact per player in the West, if that makes sense. Also, another guy to look out for is Braylon Allen from Wisconsin.
Oh, absolutely.
Freaking monster.
He's
I only
an absolute
I'm only going
monster.
to take two. I'm only going to take two guys because I don't
Yeah.
want to screw Brady over. But those two guys were the first guys that came to my mind. I mean, Wisconsin, we all know how their offense is: pound, 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 run the ball, play action. So Braylon Allen's going to have to be huge for them to even have any type of success at all. So those are the two guys that I'm looking for.
6.8 yards per carry for Braylon Allen last year. He had 1,286 yards, 12 touchdowns, 6.8 yards per carry. That is insane right there. That's almost a first down every play.
It's very impressive.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he can well, I actually went a different route, so you're all good. I went with more of guys that haven't proved it yet.
There you go.
Like I went with Casey Thompson, Nebraska's transfer quarterback from Texas.
Quarterback, all right.
Just because I think that he's going to be have a huge role in deciding the division. Because I feel like if he is clicking and if he's not doing the things that Adrian Martinez did to lose them games last year, I feel like they have a chance at winning this division. And if he can just be like, I'm not saying he has to be C.J. Stroud or win the Heisman or anything, but if he's a solid quarterback that can just play to the level of what Adrian Martinez was expected as a recruit and as a freshman, I think he's huge for Nebraska. And then another guy I went with is Iowa freshman safety Xavier Nwakpa. He was a 5-star, number 1 safety in the nation. And I feel like – and I think he's going to clearly get a starting role. Ohio State wanted him badly. Notre Dame, he was like one of those guys. But I feel like watch out for him just to have a huge year and have a big year and like be a top safety pick out of Iowa. But yeah, those are my two guys I'm going with from the West.
Okay.
I like it. Sleepers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Although I think those picks are very well, and you guys had great readings on those, I'm gonna go with the guy that was on, our graphic, Aiden O'Connell. I don't know, something about quarterback.
He was my third pick.
And, we had to throw him in there. All right, think about this: 3,712 yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, a 71.6 completion percentage. The amount of times that man threw the ball last year, that was actually insane. And there were some games last year against Iowa, against Michigan State. You talk about the Music City Bowl against Tennessee.
Against us.
Against us. I mean,
if Purdue's defense didn't decide to give up 50 points in the first half, they might have had a shot.
They might have. And Aiden O'Connell just kept slinging that thing and having a 72% completion percentage, in the Big Ten and really overall in college football is, pretty impressive. I think in this time, what year is O'Connell again? Is he a sophomore or junior?
That's a great question. I'm not sure. I know last year was the first time that he jumped up onto the radar of.
I would imagine he's a junior.
Okay. I would imagine he's a junior as well.
Because
I'll check it out.
Okay. I would guess he's at least a third-year player. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, because if he has another very good season like this, he could be trying to play on some draft boards.
Oh, he definitely is eligible for the draft after this.
Exactly. Yes.
There's no way he was a true freshman.
He could be playing for a mid-round selection or even second.
He's
or
a
third.
senior.
I don't know. He's a senior.
He's a senior. Yeah.
Senior. Okay.
He's definitely playing for draft boards this year, so he could.
I just think
if he has a great year, he could play for get to a second or third round caliber. I think.
I hope the NFL doesn't overlook him either, just because he doesn't have like the strongest arm, maybe, or the quickest release. Like they overlook some of these guys sometimes. I feel like, and they jump out at guys that are clearly going to be busts. Like guys like Paxton Lynch, and just that's just a random guy. There's no way he had no chance. And guys that just are that high of picks because of their arm talent. It's like, well, if you can't hit them in the hands, it's not really arm talent. You can just throw the ball far and hard. Like with a guy like Justin Herbert or Josh Allen, they both were really good in college. Justin Herbert obviously was good.
Yeah.
And then Josh Allen was like the best quarterback not probably non-power 5 quarterback in the country. So just Aiden O'Connell, he's top 10 quarterback in the country to me, pretty easily coming into the season.
And I think he could play his way up is the thing. I mean, just taking a look back at those numbers, I've said it a couple times, but if he's able to put his team in positions to win, I mean, numbers are obviously, when you look at like drafts and all that, numbers are a pretty big thing when it comes to obviously getting drafted. But if this guy can obviously take a leadership role, then and keep progressing, then I could see him getting a second or third round selection and try to play for himself for the draft. But still, with the Big Ten West being wide open, hey, if he balls out, he could be the centerpiece and reason that they maybe win the Big Ten West. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of openings, but a lot of teams obviously trying to take that opening, and we will throw it over to the Big Ten East on this one. You guys got it from here. Take it.
Man, this is going to be an exciting division yet again. Like I said last year, this is the clear best of it. Like it was the best division in football last year. You got Michigan State coming off a huge year under Mel Tucker, got a huge raise, $95 million contract in total. I forget how many. I think it's 10 years. And then you got Michigan, who won the conference last year, but is looking to get Ohio State looking to get revenge. So that's never good for a team like Michigan to have to be ready for on November 26th. And then you've got teams like Maryland, who quietly has a top 5 receiving core in the nation. And then Rutgers isn't going to be bad. They got a good shot to make another bowl game. And then Indiana, I mean, they were a little rusty last year, but we're talking about a team that got a transfer quarterback, Connor Bazelak from Missouri, and was just a top 10 team in the country 2 years ago. So you never know with Indiana. So overall, the division is going to be really good. And this is where a lot of the star power comes from. Because, we mentioned our Braylon Allens and our Mo Ibrahims, or Ibrahim, whatever you want to say. But you look at the star players in this. You got C.J. Stroud, Jackson Smith and Jibba, Travion Henderson, Blake Corum on Michigan.
Sean Clifford.
Yeah, Sean Clifford.
Jaden Reed.
Jaden Reed, all these random dudes. I mean, most of the star power is on Ohio State, if we're being honest. But still, Marvin Harrison, I mean, I don't know if I named him, but he deserves to be named because, he's a freak. But this division is going to be – I'm really excited for it. Matt, what do you think about the East?
It's the best division in football for sure, I think. Just compared it to the SEC West, it's usually what, the division everybody wants to point to. I mean, you got 2 surefire teams in the West every year, Bama and A&M right now. You never know what the hell LSU or Auburn are going to do right now. So
right.
The Big Ten East, the top 4 teams, top to bottom.
I mean, it really isn't even – honestly, right now, like with LSU and Auburn being like 6-6 teams the past couple of years, and then A&M hasn't proved it on the field yet, it's really just Bama that's like right there. And then Michigan, because so I 100% agree. Like,
absolutely. So what I'm saying is the 4 teams. I mean, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Michigan State. By far the 4 best teams. I think if you look at it, Ohio State's schedule really fares well, other than the Penn State game, right?
In terms of home and away games.
I mean, five home to start.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So in terms of home and away, we dominate Michigan State and East Lansing. It's crazy. I don't know how we do it. We just never have a problem when we go play there. We just don't. We don't. When they beat us, they beat us at home.
Mm-hmm.
So you cross that off. I mean, Michigan at home, a revenge game. I mean, not only would I say that we have the talent advantage over everybody, which of course we do, but I think we have the scheduling advantage over everybody too this year. I think we got the best draw. This calendar, you know how it is. Every other year, everything switches, but whatever. So I think this year we have the best draw, the most talent. So obviously, I think we're the favorites.
Right.
But I really like where Michigan State's headed. I think they got a really good coach. I think they're moving in the right direction. I think Michigan's going to take a huge step back. I really do. I don't think they're going to be able to duplicate that at all. I think Harbaugh won it out. and he didn't get the job. Now he's still staying at Michigan just because.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Penn State, they recruit well. They do this, they do that. But Sean Clifford is a bad quarterback. He's just not good. I just can't believe that they can't. Maybe they will. Maybe somebody else will end up starting for him. I don't know.
They have the number one quarterback in the nation,
Right.
5-star.
I know they do.
So you never know.
I don't know if he's going to fucking start or not, but he better if they want to have a chance. So
yeah,
that's basically my preview for that division. I mean, Maryland, Indiana, Rutgers. You know, Maryland is getting better. Loxley's a really good coach, I think, too. I think he's an underrated coach. I think he recruits well for where he's at. And
really
obviously, Shiano, we know Shiano. So, yeah, there's your preview for the Big Ten East. Buckeyes win.
Yep. Oh yeah, you want our players as well?
Yeah, give them to me right now. I'm looking up a couple of these guys and looking at some big shoes to fill. But yeah, you guys got it.
You want to start us off again, Matt?
Sure, I'll take Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, I think we both were going to take him, but you can have him.
I mean, we've seen all these videos and highlights. Just the workouts and everything. Dude just looks like a freak, man. I mean, I'm just so excited to watch him play. I mean, obviously he had a great Rose Bowl game. He flashed throughout the year. But, I mean, this is really his year, I think, to take the next step forward and become an elite receiver. We already know about Jackson. I mean, he's the best in the country. It's not even close.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all the attention. The good thing about Jackson is you can move him around inside and out to where, you know, people aren't – it's going to be hard to double cover him in every single situation and every formation. But just having a guy like Marvin to throw to when they do double him and he's left open, I mean, it's pick your poison.
Yeah, that's the thing is you can't really double him. You're screwed if you do.
Really, because you just gotta hope we do stupid things, penalties, turnovers, and that's your way to stop us, really. So I'm excited for him. I think he's going to have a big year.
Huge year. You want any more players?
No, I'm good. You can go.
You're good? Okay. Well, I know this is multiple players, but I'm going the Maryland receiving core because not a lot of people understand like how actually impressive this is for Maryland. So first off, you got former 5-star receiver Raheem Jarrett, who's going to be a junior this year. I've seen him projected first round off a couple of boards, but I mean, I don't know about that, but like very explosive. I remember he had a touchdown against Ohio State last year. Me and Chase were actually at that game because of Bryson Shaw.
Favorite player.
Next up,
Favorite player.
Oh, favorite player in the history of Ohio State football behind Tough Borland. Dante Demas, he was an all Big Ten potential receiver last year. Then he got hurt against Iowa. He's actually supposed to be the best one, and that's a great number one or two, depending on who you want to call the number one. And then a multi-year starter. I think he's been like a 3-year starter from Florida, Jacob Copeland. He's going to be either a junior or senior, or either a senior or a super senior this year. But his mom walked out on him when he committed to Florida over Alabama. And
I remember that video.
Yeah, that's him. He's now at Maryland, and he's been a starter for Florida. He just wanted out because of all the problems going on at Florida with coaches fired and stuff. So you got a big three there like that, and along with their quarterback, Talia Tagovailoa, he's okay. He likes to throw the ball, but he can get interception happy for sure. But he's got a pretty good arm, and I think they could really put up huge numbers this year on the offensive side of the ball. And then I actually have one more that I wanted to mention. I'm going to give our rival a little bit of respect with this player, but I'm also bringing down one of their players in the meantime. Donovan Edwards, running back for Michigan. I think that Blake Corum is not their best running back, which most Michigan fans would not agree with. I think that Donovan Edwards will prove to be the number 2 running back in the division behind Travion Henderson. And I think he's really fast and explosive. and I think he's Michigan's best player on the entire team, and I expect him to produce really big this year. So that's my two I guess not two people, but two things I wanted to mention there in terms of breakout in this division.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you guys one just because of the hole that needs to be filled. But we did talk about this quarterback and not really good, but someone's got to take the spot of Jahan Dotson. So why not Parker Washington? He had 64 catches, 820 yards, 4 touchdowns last year, trying to fill the void of Jahan Dotson, which Dotson left with 91 for 1182 and 12 touchdowns last year. It's going to be a big ask for Sean Clifford to, hey, play some good football for once. So
yep.
So I mean, I think Parker Washington's numbers are going to end up being a bit better just because of the fact that Jahan Dotson's out of there. And the last three games that he played in last season, Rutgers 6 for 72 and a touchdown, Michigan State 4 for 60 in Arkansas. They lost an Outback Bowl, but he had 7 catches for 98 yards. So I think, and I can't forget the Michigan game, he had 4 for 92. So overall, his production, I think, is going to increase mightily, and I think he'll have a pretty good year for what it's worth. But Sean Clifford is obviously the biggest variable in this situation. So just had to throw it out there with another receiver for Parker Washington of Penn State. At this time, we'll throw it over. Hopefully not getting intercepted, but we'll throw it over to the biggest game on your guys' watch for Big Ten football this year. I'm going to give Brady the reins on this one. Brady, what's the biggest game in the Big Ten that you see this year?
Oh, it's Michigan at Ohio State. And, I mean, if this plays out like I think Michigan's schedule is very easy this year. They don't play a tough cross-conference, and they don't play anybody out of conference that's tough either, like we play Notre Dame and we play Wisconsin and Iowa. So I think Michigan has a good shot to be 11-0, 10-1. Even though I don't think they're as good as last year coming into that week. And I think Ohio State obviously has an amazing shot to be 11-0, 10-1 just based off of talent and stuff like that. But, wow, this game's – I'm anticipating it. I've been waiting for this game for however long it's been since November 27th because I've never just felt the disgust I felt after that game. And I've never felt that. Like ever since I've been a Buckeye fan, we have not lost to Michigan until that moment. And it just felt terrible because I know that does not have to happen. Like, I know it could have been prevented. Like, I know obviously it happens, but I just think that this game is going to be huge because Michigan's looking to, like, if they win this year, they probably are under the impression that the Ohio State's dominance will stop talking. They'll stop talking about Ohio State's dominance a little bit because you do it once. I mean, you're still going to – maybe it's a fluke. You do it twice, okay, it's the real deal. And then you got Ohio State looking to get that revenge and put themselves back into the college football playoff and the chance to win the national championship. So I think that's going to be the biggest game of the year for sure.
Okay. So
in all of college football, I'll add.
Not just college football. All right. A little bit of a bold
Yep.
There. We'll have to make another video about some of the biggest games in college football and see which fall below that number one game. But Matt, what's yours?
I mean, there is no other game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the game, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Everything Brady said, I mean, but just to throw another one out there, I think Ohio State at Penn State.
Oh, yeah.
It's always a big one. I'm kind of sad that it's not the whiteout.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it's the loudest place in America, I still it's the most exciting game I watch no matter what is when we're playing in the whiteout. It's so something about going in there and you're us against the world, in the whiteout. So that's obviously a big one. But so I would throw that game out there, just throw it out there because, I mean, Ohio State, Michigan, that's it.
It's it.
So, I mean, there's not much to go on. I mean, it's just the game.
Summarized pretty well and everything. So
I can't wait till Travion Henderson breaks loose from the defense to seal the game and take a multi-score lead.
That'd be dope.
against Michigan and Notre Dame this year.
Notre Dame. It's
Yeah,
coming.
Matt.
It's gonna be like Eddie George running down the sideline, baby. I'm gonna get that sucker framed, put it right up there on my thing. You're gonna have the silver. You're gonna have the gold domes of Notre Dame's helmets running behind, chasing him. He's gonna be gone.
Yeah, I actually feel like that moment's gonna happen. I don't know why. I feel like it's gonna be in the Michigan game. I don't know why.
I hope.
I feel like the gates will just open up. We'll be in the stands, and you're just gonna see that hole just open, and him just it's just touchdown. Everyone's gonna flip out.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be a great picture to have framed, a great picture to have in your mind until that day of September 3rd and even November 26th. But
absolutely,
obviously, and guys both picked that game, Matt, the Penn State, Ohio State. I'm looking around the schedule. I'm looking around at this and saying,
"Come on, Chase! You're supposed to have a third one ready to go."
Oh, I know I should have a third one ready to go, but I've been kind of contemplating this. I'm looking at this.
He knows we already took the number one, so it's always hard to bounce back from that.
I will say, I think a very good game this year could end up being Purdue and Nebraska. That's at Purdue, October 15th. I think that could be a very big game for Nebraska to maybe get over some of the, we talked about them losing a lot of close games, and Purdue, if they get off to a nice start, this could be, a very high scoring game. It could be a very exciting game to see. October the 15th, maybe it's a night game. Who knows? But I could just see a lot of fireworks potentially coming from this game, and looking back on maybe it being one of those underlooked Big Ten classics. I don't know. I just have that feel, with Aiden O'Connell and then Nebraska trying to get after things, and Scott Frost trying to make this is a contract year for him. So, just seeing the amount of pressure that'll be in that game, and just trying to imagine the view of what it would look like if it's a 7:30 kickoff on Big Ten Network, and you don't expect it. Like most of the other games are over, and instead of the West Coast games, but you tune into that one, and you're like, oh crap, this is a really good game. I got to watch the end of this.
Right.
So I could see that happening. I don't want to go down the route of the Big Ten East since we already touched on a couple really big games, but
yeah,
I could see Purdue and Nebraska potentially being something to watch on October the 15th.
I actually have one more really big game that I just have to mention because it just means so much this year. Right. Is Michigan State at Michigan. After Michigan State beat Michigan 2 years in a row, I don't think if they win again, like Michigan has to be embarrassed because Michigan State does not have the talent right now that Michigan has whatsoever. And Ohio State has been blasting Michigan State the past couple of years. I mean, we beat them by 100 total points, I think, or something like that the past couple of years. So if Michigan loses that game, I mean, their confidence is going to plummet. And for the rivalry, it's just big time. So that's just a big game in general. I just wanted to mention.
Think about that week. Michigan plays Michigan State again, and Ohio State plays Penn State again.
That's on the same week again?
That is the same week again. So what we could see is an Ohio State, Penn State at noon, and then Michigan State and Michigan 3:30, or it could be that 7:30 kick on ABC. So
I'd love to see Michigan State, Michigan at night. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, exactly. Like last time, it was the opposite way. Yep. But I would love to see, because I remember in 2017, Michigan and Michigan State played in like a bad storm, like a really rainy storm type of thing. Michigan State came into the big house and won. John O'Corn was awful that game. Mm-hmm. But I'd love to see Michigan State at night again.
And then you obviously can't forget 2015 with the
yeah.
I mean, that's that'll always make
it's funny because I loved that happening when it happened. I was so happy, and it screwed us. That might have screwed us out of the national title for all I know.
It definitely could have. So it was funny looking at it then, but then you're like, oh, that win actually helped Michigan State get.
Yeah, exactly. Because we decided to run JT Barrett on jet sweeps on a rainy day all day and just couldn't do anything. And then we just destroy Michigan, and then we just destroy Notre Dame. And it's like clearly obvious that we should have been in there playing Alabama or Actually, we'd have probably been a higher seed. We should have been, Alabama or whoever. I think we'd have a great shot at potentially going back to back.
But back then, Ohio State errors on the coaching side of things shot us right in the foot in the proverbial ass and got us out into the Fiesta Bowl instead of the playoffs.
Tim Beck and who was the other guy, Matt? It was Tim Beck and 2015. The offensive coordinators from 2015. Ed Warner. Oh, my God. I hated those guys.
Oh, man.
Shitbags.
Painful memory right there. But
they had Taylor Decker, Zeke, Michael Thomas. All those dudes.
They had that was a loaded roster back then. Looking at NFL purposes right now.
Curtis Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then you had JT at quarterback. So
JT and Cardale and all them.
Yeah, and then but then games that we talked about biggest games. How about games that are flying under the radar, sleeper games? I'm going to give this one to Matt since Brady took the biggest game of the year.
Go get it.
I feel like it's kind of turned into another Ohio State podcast, but I don't know. Who cares? We can't fight the bias.
Well, I mean, to be honest, to be fair, though, most of these big games and super games are going to involve the best team in the conference.
Oh, right. No. I'm not saying that we picked the wrong things. I'm just saying that this is what it feels like.
Yeah, and look at us.
No, I agree.
Ohio State, everything you got. I see some Ohio State back at your house, though. It's just Ohio State.
I got it all, man. We got it all. We're rocking and rolling.
All on our man. So, we get it. It's going to be Ohio State talk on this thing.
There is.
My biggest sleeper game, surprise, has to do with Ohio State. It's the week after we play Penn State. We go at Northwestern. Like I said earlier, Northwestern, the way that program works, I don't know how it works, is they go 8-4, 9-3, and then 2-10. I mean, but this is one of those. Look at now. The good thing is for Ohio State, they play Northwestern, Indiana, Maryland. That's their 3-game stretch right there. So they're not going to be looking ahead to anybody, but having a huge game on the road at Penn State obviously is going to be a big time game. Could end up deciding the Big Ten East. We don't know. Who knows? But what I'm saying is the letdown afterwards. What if we come off a huge win there? Come back in. We're sleepwalking into Northwestern on a noon kick in Illinois. The first week of November, it's cold. We don't want to play these guys. They suck. And then boom.
And then they get us.
That's my sleeper game right there. Ohio State at Northwestern, first week of November. Watch out for it. Pat Fitzgerald knows how to get those guys going.
That's a good one. It really is. I'm going to go with – I have a couple, but the one I'm going to actually focus on is Nebraska at Michigan. And I know it's at Michigan, but Michigan loses games at home, I feel like, more than they lose away games. I feel like Nebraska, again, I really like them this year. I think that they have high potential. And I'm not saying Nebraska is going to win, but if Michigan's going to lose a game before Ohio State, I could certainly see it being this game. I could see Nebraska. I think Casey Thompson has a legit arm from Texas, the transfer there. I just think that Texas had a first-year coach, and I mean he threw for big numbers against. I'm not saying Oklahoma's defense was good or anything because Oklahoma, but he lets it rip. He can let it fly, and Nebraska usually has solid receivers. If they can and they play good defense. So if they can just play good defense and let it fly, watch for a potential upset. Nebraska at Michigan.
Okay.
I like it.
I do too. When it comes to some of these games, I have two potential ones. Not really going to touch a whole lot on this one. Just from a history buff standpoint, it's only a couple years back. You guys remember 2018, the week before Michigan, right? You guys remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Play Maryland. That game. I mean, nothing's going to happen there, I don't think, because obviously I think we're a way better team than Maryland. I'm just saying from a history standpoint, maybe. But
Yeah,
Purdue, Penn State, that's week 1. It's a week 1 game. I'm not saying
a good one.
that's a sleeper game. I'm saying like it's a game that you could also watch out for, and a sleeper game in itself. Penn State could waltz in there being like, oh, we're the home team. We're playing against Purdue. They haven't really had a whole lot of success on us overall, but I don't know. I'm riding really high on Purdue this year when it comes just riding on the arm of Aiden O'Connell. I don't know why.
I like that pick. I like that pick.
I don't know why I don't know why
I'm really, pick right there.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm really riding on it so much. It's just a weird Big Ten week 1 game. Purdue's going into Penn State. I think some things, some of the ways the tide goes for Purdue could change this year. And I think Aiden O'Connell can go in there and win them a game. I think he can personally win them a game against Penn State. And you look at Penn State, if they lose to Purdue, actually Purdue is at home. I forgot about that. Purdue is home, but still, that's something that Penn State should really watch out for, because for Penn State's sake, they got Ohio at home and then they go to Auburn. So that could be.
Yeah, I mean, if Penn State loses that game, they're in trouble.
Oh yeah, they're confident.
Dan Franklin's in trouble.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, they're confident.
They just gave him that huge deal too.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, but what I'm saying is, for this season, I mean, if they lose week 1, you could see it. I mean, obviously at Auburn, who knows how good Auburn's going to be, but I mean, they're definitely moving in the right direction. They gave Alabama everything they could handle last year.
Oh yeah.
They should have won. Tank Bigsby was an idiot.
Yeah.
At night in Jordan Hare. I mean, and then you still have to play us, Michigan State, and Michigan. I'd have to check their crossover. I'm not exactly. Oh, they have Minnesota in their crossover.
They got Northwestern too at home, I will say.
So I mean, it could easily go in a downhill slope quick if they lose week 1, 3-4 losses just like that.
Mm-hmm. There's some really good games early this season. Now that I think about it, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Auburn, Penn State, Purdue, Penn State, Texas, Bama. Like, wow. Oregon, Georgia.
Yeah. I mean, I even saw that Michigan State – I know it's not really a great one, but a different – Michigan played Washington the last year or two. Michigan State plays at Washington this year. Purdue plays in the Carrier Dome against Syracuse this year. Just interesting matchups across the board when it comes to non-conference.
Hey, you guys forgot about the Wolverines taking on the mighty Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii.
Oh, yeah. What if Hawaii just comes in and just smashes?
And they got the Yukon Huskies.
Good God.
They do have 4 home games. That's wow. Because they got Colorado State, Hawaii, Yukon, and Maryland to start their season.
That's what's going to make Michigan's player stats look better, is those 2 games right there.
Oh, yeah.
Cade McNamara is going to get – he's going to get his 400-yard games there, since he can't throw for over 100 against good teams.
Mm-hmm. And
while
we're on this topic of non-conference, I know we didn't really have this in our, in our meeting stuff, but I remember one day Brady and I were talking about Bailey Zapp, Western Kentucky quarterback. Western Kentucky plays at Indiana this year. I just want to see what a Western Kentucky quarterback can do on a stage like this against the Big Ten team, and just watch and see how they work, because obviously it's not just Bailey Zapp that did all of this. You have Mike White, a couple other guys in the past, but Western Kentucky has really been producing some pretty good quarterbacks, and a lot of guys have had good numbers. So they're playing against Indiana week 3, September.
They're an explosive offense overall too.
And another thing to watch,
Indiana might lose that game.
They very well could. And another thing to watch out for is they come to Ohio and play Cincinnati, who's coming off of the, this year coming into the college football playoff. We'll see what Cincinnati could be like in the first couple of weeks, but they play Indiana and Cincinnati. So that's going to be Indiana's first road test this year. Indiana's not, I don't think they're not going to be good, but it will be interesting to see how they play against a team that is obviously trying to go back to back in the playoff, but they don't really have much of a chance when they talking about Cincinnati. That's for another day on another time. But there are some really interesting non-conference Big Ten games this year. I'm excited to see it. Yeah,
I am too. I think this is one of the best better non-conference seasons I've seen in a while. Honest, better than last year. Last year was solid with Georgia, Clemson. That game, I was not very pleased with that game. If that makes any sense.
It didn't live up to the hype.
On September 4th.
It did not live up to the hype. I mean, I was so excited. I was so excited for that game, and it ended up being 10-3.
That was awful. It's just not a good game overall and everything. And September the 10th, you got Iowa and Iowa State. That was a big game last year to start the season. I do remember that. I think
it was.
Fowler and Herbstreit were on the call for that, I believe.
Yeah, they don't like each other. That's a good old I'm talking about the rivalry. That's a good old fashioned rivalry.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's obviously something to watch out for week 2 as well. Obviously, they play each other every year, but still, something else to watch out for. I also just noticed that Wisconsin has a home game against Washington State this year. Did not catch that.
Washington State.
Yes, Washington State comes to Madison this year and plays Wisconsin week 2.
The Cougars.
The Cougars, yeah. But at this point here, we were talking about some of the Michigan guys getting some boosted stats and everything, but how about some statistic leaders in the Big Ten this year? I think a couple of these are just easy no-brainers when it comes to yards and passing yards and receiving yards, but I'm not going to allude to anything else. But Brady, I know you had a couple things written down. Matt, I don't know if you had a couple things written down about statistics leaders, but again, I'll give you guys the floor. I'm an NFL guy when it comes to stat leaders. I already have my stats predicted for the NFL season, so just letting those kind of marinate. So you guys got the floor on this Big Ten statistic leaders. The floor, Brady, you can have it.
All right, appreciate it. Passing yards and touchdowns. CJ Stroud's going to easily be both of these. I have no doubt. So I'm gonna say 50 touchdown pass. 51. He's gonna break Dwayne Haskins' record, and he's gonna do a commemoration or something after it. Okay. Let's say 51 plus, because I think he breaks the record, and then 45 plus 100 yards. I'd say close to 5,000 probably yards wise. Okay. And then I'm gonna go with Mohammed Ibrahim for the rushing leader yards wise. I'm gonna say
That's my dude.
1,700 yards for Mo. And touchdowns, I'm going to go with Mo Ibrahim as well because I think he's not in a committee backfield. He's going to be the main bell cow. I'm going to say he scores 18 touchdowns this year running the football. And then receiving yards, Jackson Smith and Jigba. 1,600 plus receiving yards, which is a hilariously bold, which sounds bold, but it's not because he had that last year. He had 1,606 last year. And then touchdowns, I'm actually going with Marvin Harrison Jr. to out-touchdown Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think Smith and Jigba gets double-digit touchdowns. He catches a ton of touchdowns, but I think they're going to be bracketing JSN in the red zone. And I think Marvin Harrison is going to be unstoppable. I think he scores 15 plus. Let's go 15 touchdowns.
Oh, wow.
I think he'll be a touchdown machine this year.
It certainly sounds like it, especially in that red zone. Crunch down in the red zone, and Jackson Smith and Jigba can still get open. But hey, throw it up to the big boy Marvin Harrison. Just
throw. The dude has just insane explosion, and I think he is going to be probably the best red zone receiver in the country this year. The way he just finds that soft spot in the end zone, and he's just going to catch the ball. He's just going to catch the football.
Exactly. Matt, you got any takes on that?
I agree with everything he said except one thing. So all the quarter passing yards, receiving, all that, bingo. Literally, tick for tack. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Running back, like I said earlier, I think Mo is the best one. I do think he's the best one. But I'm going to take Braylon Allen as the leader in rushing yards due to the offense they're in, just the sheer bulk amount of carries that he's going to get. Just the way Wisconsin runs the ball literally all the time, right?
Yeah, that's a great pick.
Minnesota has Tanner Morgan. They like to sling it just a little bit. I'm not saying Mo's not going to get all the carries and everything in Minnesota. He's going to get a ton of carries, but they like to sling it just a little bit more than what Wisconsin does. Spread it out a little bit.
agree.
So I'm going to take Braylon Allen there, and then rushing touchdowns might be a trick. Here, I'm going to take Travion. I'm taking Travion for the rushing touchdowns.
Trey.
A lot of breakaways, a lot of things like that. He's all for the big play guy, right?
Right.
So what we saw last year, he was kind of that Saquon Barkley type in terms of can you really stick it between the tackles all the time or can you break away? Hopefully he can do it both this year. And he might just lead the league in rushing and touchdowns. Who knows?
If he becomes that guy, honestly, he might become like the greatest running back in the history of the Big Ten because his explosion is ridiculous. His explosion is the best I've ever seen at Ohio State.
Right. So I am going to take him for rushing touchdowns. There you go.
All right.
I like it.
All good, all great picks there. And interesting to note, though, I mean, not to note, but Wisconsin's history of running backs, especially the last few, you look at Monty Ball having ridiculous seasons, Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Taylor, Braylon Allen, on pace for that, if you think about it, with this season last year. Talking about averaging 7 yards a carry at 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns. Wisconsin always is dependent on the running back because their quarterbacks aren't really that great. They're not that athletic. They're just guys that are just they'll be drop back passers, but at the same time they're really good at sticking the ball out and just giving it to the running back and letting them do work. Wisconsin's offensive line is pretty nasty. Overall. So I do like that Braylon Allen pick, though, of leading the Big Ten in rushing and on all that. So that is definitely something that we need to look at throughout the season. Also, Ibrahim and obviously our guy Trayvon Henderson. So at this point, we got through the stats leaders. Now it's time to, it's June, but still. We can still look ahead to December, 6 months from now. Championship game picks. All right. Matthew, I will start off with you for this one. What is your championship game pick that'll be on in Indianapolis? I believe the date is December the 3rd at Lucas Oil Stadium. Who is your pick and who's winning it?
Well, I got the Buckeyes in there, sure.
Yeah.
Right.
The West really is a very, very tough choice. It really is just toss up. I'm going to take Wisconsin. I think there's a very real chance they could finish 11-1 in the regular season. But I also think there's a very real chance they could go like 8-4 and still somehow win the division. Like that's how tough the division is, truly. It's just so up for grabs. I'm going to take Wisconsin coming out of there 10-2. I'm going to say they lose to us and they slip up to either Minnesota or Iowa. Okay. And I'm going to say they beat Michigan State on the road.
Okay.
So I'm taking Wisconsin and Ohio State 10-2, 11-1. You're going to see that rematch like you did a few years ago. They played in the regular season and then ended up in the Big Ten championship game again. But then I think we just blow the doors off them. Truly, they can't defend. They just won't be able to defend us or stick with us. So I like the Buckeyes, 13-0, Big Ten champs. Here we come. We're on them.
We're on them.
Yep. We're on them. We're on them.
All right, Brady, what's your pick?
So I agree. Definitely got the Buckeyes in there. Like you said, maybe little line from Matt. And then on the other side, I actually have Nebraska.
Okay.
I'm going to ride with them all the way through. I've been very high on them. I think that's going to be my biggest unpopular bold take this year is Nebraska wins their division. Maybe they won't. Maybe they're going to suck again. I don't know. But I'm going to put them in there. And I'm going to go Buckeyes take it home and just beat the snot out of them. And
that a baby.
Yeah, and I think they make the college football playoff, obviously.
All right.
Wow.
What a shocker. Well, I'm obviously going to take Ohio State with mine too. So that's a clean sweep there. I would I would look at Wisconsin and all that and would think that they would do it. But you know what? Apparently, I'm smoking a Boilermaker blunt right now. So I'm going to ride high off Purdue, and I'm going to
There you
take
go.
Purdue. They're going to go
Take Purdue.
Big Ten championship, and they're going to get their ass beat by Ohio State.
I like that.
I'm going to go.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind that
45
pick whatsoever.
7. From June, it's going to be 45-7. Ohio State. I think Purdue though. You know, I don't know what it is. I'm just riding off just some of the things that they're able to do. I don't know. I just love the quarterback there. I love the quarterback there. If he's able to feed in that locker room and the energy, I think Purdue can go very far. Play that game in Indianapolis. Still have a lot of fans in the stands. Obviously, I don't know if much as Ohio State, but Purdue's never been to a Big Ten championship, so they will make history that time, but they will make a place in history for another Ohio State route in the Big Ten championship. So,
hey, Michigan made their history last year, making their first little Big Ten championship.
They did. Yep. So they got the good part of it, but I think Ohio State will restore their crown as Big Ten champions this year. So we covered a lot of Big Ten stuff on the show today. There's obviously going to be a lot more talk about the Big Ten throughout the summer and the fall. You'll see some side videos here and there about that. Overall, we'll recap all that stuff. So, but yes, you will see a lot more Big Ten talk when it comes to the fall and everything. We'll have a lot of breakdowns and all that stuff week by week, as well as the NFL and the AFC. So that'll do it for the show. Matt, you got anything else you want to say? Great having you on the show again and everything, but you got any closing remarks?
Here we come, baby. We're on them. We're going to start making this a real thing. College football, NFL football. Here I come, baby. I'm coming all the time.
I love it. Brady, what about you? You got any closing remarks?
I just want to say, just reiterate all his statements. Obviously, I just passed it on forward. We're on them.
We're on them, baby.
And stay tuned, because this is not going to be the last you hear from us. You're gonna keep hearing from us. We're gonna provide some interesting content. We're gonna release regular videos that aren't podcasts as well. Mm-hmm. From all of us, some like lists and all that. Mm-hmm. Type of little videos, and hope you guys will enjoy those. Yeah, that's all I got to say. Good episode covering Big Ten football.
Absolutely, great job, guys.
And I love this panel right here. We all know each other, pretty well, getting to know each other even better and everything. But the love for football and sports as a whole, and just knowing the game of football, knowing just sports in general, but also being fans at the same time. We just enjoy doing this, and hopefully this is the start of something big, and we'll keep producing, the best content that we can produce, and you guys can keep coming, and we appreciate all the support. This is obviously not the end, nowhere near the end of what we're trying to accomplish here, and the other people that have been on the show and everything. So I think we're just getting started here, but we will end.
We're just getting started because we're on them.
Yes, we are on them. The Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast panel, we're on them. All right,
we're on them, baby.
End the show on
we're
that.
On them.
We will see you guys here soon. We'll start doing weekly stuff here, Tuesdays, Thursdays. We'll get all that stuff figured out, and get ready to see some videos on the side. So, with that being said, oh yeah, love Thursdays. But with that being said, I'm Chase. That's Matt, Brady. We'll see you guys next time.
Yep, we'll see you guys.